The maritime world is changing, and for the better. With help from IMO, exciting and rewarding career opportunities are opening up for women, and a new generation of strong and talented women are responding. They're proving that, in today's world, the maritime industries are for everyone. It's not about your gender, it's about what you can do. Women in maritime today are strong, powerful, and constantly challenging old-fashioned perceptions. Women in maritime are standing up for themselves and showing that what matters is not who you are, it's what you can do.
Women are strong, we are wonderful. The women I have worked with in this industry so far they're superstars. They're amazing people, they do a fantastic job, and we learn so much from one another.
We all have the same brain, we can think, we're sharp, we're bright. It requires innovative thinkers, and women are that.
I do operations, search and rescue. I am out there with the guys, taking control.
Technology is forcing us to understand that the nature of how we do work today is different.
Shipping can provide meaningful and long careers for women and young people in general, and this is what we should promote.
In my opinion, there's never been a better time to close the gender gap, and I would encourage all to get on board with gender equality. And of course, we're helping our member states to deliver the Sustainable Development Goals, in particular SDG 5.
It's a good job, it's a lucrative job, and everything is possible. That's all I can say. So go out to sea.
Warm greetings to you all from IMO headquarters in London. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Helen Buni, and I'm the focal point for IMO's Women in Maritime programme. I'm really excited and honoured to be here with you and to learn and network with you, albeit virtually. My sincere thanks and appreciation go to Sanjam Gupta and her team at Maritime SheEO for organising this important conference, bringing together over 60 industry experts and more than 1,000 participants amid a global pandemic. This conference, the first of many Maritime SheEO conferences, provides us with a unique opportunity to chart a new future for gender equality in the maritime industry. Before I begin, I want everyone listening to tweet about attending the Maritime SheEO conference and share a key takeaway under the hashtag Maritime SheEO 2020. Please spread the word. International Maritime Organization. Established in 1948, we are a small, specialised UN agency, headquarters based in London on the River Thames, with an annual budget of 30+ million and a secretariat more than 265 staff and over 50 nationalities. For IMO, as a specialised UN agency responsible for maritime safety, security, protection of the marine environment, and efficiency of international maritime transport, collaboration is essential. A ship flying the flag of country A may be owned in country B, insured in country C, classed in country D, operated between countries E to F, have officers from G to H, crew from countries I to K, carry cargoes from countries L to Z. Shipping truly is the most international of industries, and the need for dialogue and liaison, collaboration if you will, amongst all those countries is vital to ensure that standards are set, regulations are enforced, and that a level playing field is maintained. When I joined the UN Maritime World in 2003, it was a largely male-dominated environment. Fast forward to 2020, and in some respects that's still the case, but we are seeing progress in terms of the greater participation of women in the maritime sector. More women in leadership roles, but this change is not happening as fast as we would like. But sometimes a fast reaction doesn't bring about the deep-rooted and effective change that we are interested in nor striving for. That said, if we want to attract the best people and not lose out talent to other sectors and retain that talent, we have to value people based on their competency rather than any other factor. How can we expect industries and economies to evolve when we're excluding 50% of the most promising leaders? Women are severely underrepresented, some 1 to 2%, in an industry that controls 90% of world trade. At the current rate, it will take 100 years to achieve gender parity in the shipping industry. We know that gender diversity helps the bottom line, and that's why initiatives such as Maritime SheEO are so important. In a McKinsey Global Institute study released in 2015, the headline takeaway was that advancing women's equality can add $12 trillion to global growth. Disregarding 50% of the talent pool just does not make economic sense. Closing the gender gap would mean diverse candidatures, more creative ideas, improved businesses, and larger economic gains, which means more jobs for everyone. So the evidence is clear. Equality for women means progress for all. How do we get there? And this is particularly important as we face the challenge to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. So we must use this opportunity. And to reiterate the words that the IMO Secretary General said earlier, this is an opportunity to rebuild from this crisis inclusively, equitably, and sustainably, and put women's leadership and contributions at the very heart of resilience and recovery. Maritime will be the foundation for the recovery. During this pandemic, shipping has continued to deliver vital goods. We have seen the professionalism and sacrifice of the world's 2 million seafarers who continue to transport more than 80% of global trade. So through this pandemic and beyond, we need to redouble our efforts and ensure that shipping is sustainable. And people are at the heart of this at every level. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 5 on gender equality has to be at the right at the centre of every activity. Welcome to Equiteria, where gender equality is real. So breaking news I have to announce at this Maritime SheEO conference. We have found a country that has achieved gender equality. Welcome to Equiteria, where gender equality is real. In Equiteria, all people have equal rights and opportunities, regardless of their gender. Women and girls feel safe when walking at night. They get paid equally as men for work of equal value. And men and women share chores, care duties at home, and they can access high quality care at affordable rates. Doesn't that sound fabulous? No one's talking about 30% quota for women in political leadership. In Equiteria, anyone, men and women, are equally represented in political offices, corporate boardrooms, and factory floors. Girls are as valued as boys are, and people of all gender and sexuality feel safe and equal. This is what gender equality looks like. Just have a look at the map there. We see Unstereotype Avenue, Violence Free Alley, Equal Pay Street, Inclusion Square, Toxic Masculinity Recycling Plant, my favourite, Climate Change Avenue, and Equal Representation Avenue. Let's have a reality check here, because as we know, Equiteria only exists in our imagination. It's a place that we all aspire to build to, I hope. Today, no country in the world has achieved gender equality. 25 years ago, 193 countries came together at the fourth World Conference on Women and promised to take measures that guaranteed gender equality. The Beijing Platform for Action. And of course, there's been considerable progress since then, but many of those promises are yet to be fulfilled. A major stock-taking UN report published earlier this year showed that progress towards gender equality is faltering and hard-won advances are being reversed. We know that men are still 75% of parliamentarians, hold 73% of managerial positions, are 70% of climate negotiators, and almost all of peacemakers. The Maritime SheEO conference comes at a time when the impact of gender equality gaps is undeniable. Research shows that the COVID-19 pandemic is exacerbating pre-existing inequalities, threatening to halt or reverse the gains of decades of collective efforts. We just released new data revealing that the pandemic will push 47 million more women and girls below the poverty line. We're also seeing increased reports of violence against women throughout the world due to the lockdowns and women losing their livelihoods faster because they're more exposed to hard-hit economic sectors. Turning this around is a priority for the UN and for IMO as part of that UN family. Facing women around the world, access to justice, land, education and opportunities, low levels of women in leadership and participating in decision making. So that with challenges come opportunities. And in times of crisis, they can actually foster innovation and illumination. Women stand at the front lines of the COVID-19 crisis, be them healthcare workers, caregivers, innovators, community organisers, and some of the most exemplary and effective national leaders in combating the pandemic are shown on the screen before you. Women leaders and organisations have demonstrated their skills, knowledge and networks to effectively lead COVID-19 response and recovery efforts. Today, there's more acceptance than ever that women bring different experiences, perspectives, skills to the table and make irreplaceable contributions to decisions, policies and laws that work better for all. In the majority of countries that have been more successful in stemming the tide of the COVID-19 pandemic and responding to health and broader socio-economic impacts are headed by women. Yet women are heads of state and governments in only 20 countries worldwide. In addition to pre-existing social and systematic barriers to women's participation and leadership, the pandemic has highlighted across the world that women are facing increased domestic violence, unpaid care duties, unemployment, and poverty. Research has also shown us that there's 4 common threads in women's leadership during this pandemic: trust, decisiveness, technology, and love. I just very briefly, before talking about IMO's work, like to highlight 6 things that we can learn from how women leaders have handled this pandemic and how we can use them to adapt our future work. Firstly, include everyone. The most successful leaders have included everyone in their plans. They make it very explicit that they care for everybody. They don't keep anyone out. For example, Erna Solberg, the Norwegian Prime Minister, she held coronavirus instructional events for children to help ease their fears, despite the fact that they're not even part of the voting population yet. Number 2, be authentic. The pandemic has been far from a great equalizer. In fact, we know how much it disproportionately affects women and girls. But it's also made many of us very aware of the struggles of others. Sharing your personal experience can be a revelation that connects you to other people. In the early days of the virus, New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern hosted an informal Facebook Live Q&A to check in with everyone from the comfort of her own home. Tell the truth. Number 3. Truth is enormously important because truth builds trust. Great leaders are rational optimists. They can help employees manage uncertainty by showing what they know, what they don't know, and sharing the optimism that they'll all get through this together. 4, be decisive. Decisiveness is a leadership quality that is especially hard to embody in times of stress and uncertainty and in the face of an unfolding threat like this pandemic. But some leaders have still managed to act. 5, embrace technology. The pandemic has shown us that technology can offer some solutions. For example, the Icelandic Prime Minister kicked off an intensive screening and tracking system for the country, which saw early success battling the virus. And she's now instituted double testing and mandatory quarantine for travellers. 6, leaders of every kind can learn from these women. You don't have to lead a country to be inspired by these women. During the pandemic, women in organisations and corporations have shown that we can all use our positions to affect change. And it's that I just want to focus on, because everyone, from companies to schools to community groups, can benefit from incorporating truth, decisiveness, technology, and love into their thoughts and actions. Realizing we're all in this together and behaving in a way that embodies this attitude are key. And knowing and trusting the person at the top, whoever they may be, is committed to advancing the interests of the whole, can raise spirits and keep everyone looking forward to the future. So how is IMO helping women in the maritime community? Well, I'll tell you if my presentation plays fair. Think maritime, think women. It's perhaps not the usual slogan that we're used to seeing in our traditionally male-dominated industry. IMO's Women in Maritime programme has been running for more than 3 decades to support the participation of women in the sector. The industry relies on the human element for its safety and success. So how then can it afford to limit its pool of resources by excluding women? The programme was initiated in 1988. At that time, only a few maritime training institutions opened their doors to female students. Since then, IMO has actively supported and promoted access to maritime training and employment opportunities for women in the maritime sector through training, visibility, and recognition. On the screen before is a map. And one aspect of IMO's Women in Maritime programme that I am just extremely proud of is the creation of professional networks to improve gender equality or gender balance in the shipping industry. So under IMO's auspices, 7 Women in Maritime Associations, or WIMAs, have been established in Africa, Arab states, Asia, the Caribbean, Latin America, and the Pacific, covering some 152 countries and dependent territories. A special hello to members of WIMA, PAC WIMA, Red Mamla, WIMA Asia, WIMOCA, WIMAC, and WAMESA, and their national chapters who are watching this. Access to these regional maritime institutions not just provide women with a platform to discuss a number of issues about gender, but also technical issues. And these associations go some way to bridging the gap in narrowing some of the institutional barriers and cultural stigma facing women who enter the maritime industry. I'm really proud of the grassroots work that each of these regional and national Women in Maritime networks have developed through their work programs, delivering events such as Maritime Career Days, mentorship schemes, how to promote a career and opportunities for people entering the sector, the importance of STEM subjects, activities such as HIV prevention and sexual health, to beach cleanups. In these unprecedented times, I think being part of a network and supporting each other, sharing best practices, and knowing that you're not alone has never been more important nor relevant. And IMO supports this approach by providing a platform for networking and mentorship for women in maritime to bridge that gender equality gap. Gender-specific fellowships is quite a fun slide just to illustrate a long-running women in port management course that IMO supports. To date, we've trained about 300 women under this initiative, and the idea being is really just to facilitate access to high-level technical training for women from developing countries. We know that education and really promotes equality and empowers women. And it's vital to ensure full and effective participation and equal opportunities are there for women at all decision-making levels. In earlier presentations, you will have heard from colleagues about IMO's maritime training institutions, so the World Maritime University and the IMO International Maritime Law Institute, and how those institutions are producing the maritime ambassadors of tomorrow, the policy makers, the decision makers. And they also are producing role models and encouraging females to join the industry. Well, Maritime Theme 2019. I don't even know where to start with this theme because it resonated with so many people. Empowering women in the maritime community. It had far-reaching resonance, encouraging more conversation for gender equality in the maritime space. A little bit like what we're doing here today. The snapshot on the screen in front of you, if my computer behaves, is an infographic, and it just highlights some of the conferences, seminars, panel discussions that were held in support of this theme, highlighting the important contribution of women within the sector. Every member of this audience can be part of the sea change, to be the first generation to end extreme poverty, the decisive generation in the battle against climate change, and the most determined generation to fight injustice and inequality. But there's much work to be done, and every year counts. So I'm urging all to be part of Generation Equality. And be here talking to you about IMO's Women in Maritime programs and our initiatives without talking a little bit about the way forward. Some of the projects that IMO is involved with is, first of all, we're here to promote strategic partnerships, and we need to increase that and work better together. There's too much time spent of working in silos. And that's why collaborations for us with Maritime SheEO are very important. We are one of our, I guess, great takeaways or great initiatives from the IMO World Maritime Theme was it would be remiss of me to leave this conference without just mentioning a few things about the way forward and some of our initiatives. Increasing strategic partnerships, no more working in silos to promote gender equality. We've embarked on a study with Worcester International to count the number of women in maritime. This is a really important initiative because we need baseline data. We need baseline data because how can you measure how far you've come if you have no baseline data to start with? You don't know where you've started from. Taking forward the IMO Assembly resolution to create a barrier-free working environment. Establishing a speakers bureau to counter some of the manuals that we see in the industry. We learned very much from the World Maritime Theme that it was better to have diverse panels rather than panels on diversity. Moves are also underway in-house to address diversity and representation, including discussing gender, LGBT+, disability, intersectionality, through a cross-divisional gender and diversity group. And the idea is that we want to create an environment at IMO that embraces equality, diversity, and reduces bias for all. So where does that leave us in terms of this conference? Well, the second piece of breaking news or interesting news or exciting news I have to share with you is that to coincide with International Women's Day on the 8th of March 2021, which is the theme is Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in a COVID-19 World. IMO, through its Women in Maritime program, has agreed to sponsor a number of women from developing countries to undertake the first Maritime SheEO Leadership Accelerator program, equipping them with the leadership skills and confidence to take a seat at the decision-making table. More details on this fantastic opportunity will be announced in due course. Role models and visibility are such an important thing. To change the balance and level the playing field, it seems we need to make women know that there is a place, an opportunity for them in the maritime industry in the first place. Girls and boys often don't even know about the maritime career as they journey through their schooling life. And this part of my presentation is directed at those students from maritime training schools present in the audience here today. This conference is full of inspiration, role models and mentors, and I would urge you to use this unique opportunity to share your experiences, advice, and listen to each other. Stop being a bystander in your own life. Speak up, seek out those opportunities, join networks, seek out those mentorship platforms and initiatives such as Maritime SheEO. For International Women's Day last year, IMO launched a series of profiles. One is shown on the screen before you, to give visibility to women from all over the world who have benefited from our gender programme, either by membership to a Women in Maritime Association or through fellowships or access to high-level technical training. We're proud to have had such an impact and helped empower these women. I'm very happy to share their success stories. Maritime Women Photo Share. So this was a campaign that we initiated at IMO headquarters because to achieve a more diverse workforce, it's essential that women are visible, both within the maritime community and more widely in representations of the maritime sector in news reports and other material. IMO has invited women of the maritime sector to share photos of themselves at work using the hashtag on the screen before you, Maritime Women Photo Share. Thanks to contributions from all around the world, we are building up a bank of images, some 150 to date, where external audiences can source quality and realistic photos for use in news stories, social media posts, and brochures. The aim is to achieve or to showcase a more diverse representation of maritime careers in the media, so that roles such as captain, chief engineer, and seafarer are also portrayed by women. And this will be key in inspiring young girls to embark upon a maritime career by showing that there is a place for them in this industry. Please do join this campaign and submit your photos to this wall and get behind this initiative. We know that greater visibility for women in the sector is essential. Not only will it bring more diverse problem solving, but it will also help with recruitment. We have brave women in the industry and we want more, and it's time for the rest of the world to realise and recognise them for their value. 12 months ago, in the 2019 Day of the Seafarer campaign, where we invited everyone to get on board with gender equality, we mustn't take a step back. We must keep the conversation about your competencies and not about your gender. Thank you so much for allowing me this platform to share some of IMO's initiatives. The future is hugely exciting with what we have coming up in the Women in Maritime program. And I can't emphasize enough, collaboration is key to mainstreaming gender throughout our sector. If I could leave you with this short video, which summarizes IMO's Women in Maritime program, and I'll be available to answer any questions throughout the conference. Stay safe. Thank you.